Perspective. It's your point of view. It's how you see something. Many times a situation doesn't change, but the way you see it changes. And many times a situation won't change until your perspective changes. It's all in how you look at it. You've got to understand where Nehemiah was coming from to fully appreciate his reaction. I mean, here's Nehemiah. He's the cupbearer to the king. Now, the cupbearer was a very trusted position. He did more than just sample the king's wine. He was right next to the king. He was an advisor to the king. He carried great authority in the land. I'm sure that Nehemiah led an extremely comfortable life. Things for Nehemiah were looking good until one day Nehemiah gets the report that the rebuilding efforts over the past several years haven't been successful. People are still not safe. The city wall is still broken down. The city of Jerusalem itself is still in disrepair. But let's be honest. Jerusalem isn't the city of Nehemiah's youth. He doesn't have fond memories of Jerusalem. He never spent time playing around the sheep gate or the jackal well. He was born in Persia. He lived his whole life in Persia, and now he was living a really cush life in Persia. What did he care about some broken down wall in a city he'd never visited? Furthermore, this isn't new news. The city wall had been broken down for well over 100 years. Things were pretty much the same as they'd always been in Nehemiah's life. From Nehemiah's point of view, this should have been no big deal. But Nehemiah chose to see this from a different perspective. He didn't look at just how it impacted him. He wanted to see how it would impact his people. He received this news realizing how it would affect the city of his ancestors, and hopefully one day the city of his descendants. Nehemiah also chose to see this from the viewpoint of God himself. I mean, this was God's city. This is where his temple was located, where his people were supposed to reside. Nehemiah chose to feel God's heart on the situation, and because of that, Nehemiah wept for days. Do we ever really see our city from God's perspective? Are we willing to allow God to show us our city from His point of view? I think if we really did that, we'd end up like Nehemiah, brokenhearted and weeping. Do we have the boldness to see people the way God sees them? Not with our stereotypes and prejudices, but to look at them through the divine lens, to see their true heart, to see their need, to see their potential. As we live in our unparalleled comfort, are we willing to see the broken down homes and the broken down families of other people and get the focus off of ourselves? Are we really willing to risk and to take up God's perspective? Are you willing to let that move you to tears? Are you willing to let that move you to action?